Welcome into a fresh new hour of CBS Sports HQ, presented by Canva. Love your work. I'm Jordan Giorgio alongside Jeremy St. Louis, and we begin with the Thursday night football matchup we're in store for tonight. A divisional battle in the AFC North between the Browns and the Steelers. Steelers trying to stay ahead of the Ravens, atop of the division, and move into the 2 seed in the AFC. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, they can move in behind Kansas City with a win tonight. A win tonight also gets the Steelers to 9 wins, which would mean that for an 18th straight time, Mike Tomlin has not had a losing season, and the Steelers themselves would make it 21 straight seasons without a losing record as a franchise. One of the key battles in this game is between two of the best pass rushers in the league, TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. And hey, look, there's some friction here after TJ Watt snubbed NFL honors last year after Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year. And the numbers give you some context. Watt was clearly better, more sacks, more tackles for loss, more passes defended, but not enough to win Player of the Year. He even went on social media simply saying, nothing I'm not used to. Over 5 million people saw that tweet on X, including Garrett, who said this week he's kind of expecting an apology when the two hit the field tonight.
I've never complained about the trophy not being in my house, and vice versa. He shouldn't be feeling two ways about it going to me.
Did TJ ever say anything to you after that diss kind of went viral a little bit?
No, he didn't say nothing to me. No, he got to apologize when I see him.
Okay. Yeah. And I mean, did this change the way that, I know you're friends, did this change the way that you view him or feel about him?
I mean, I wouldn't say we're friends. I would say we're friendly, and I have a respect for him and his brother. They've both been great figures and advocates for this game. But it doesn't really change anything. But we'll see what happens on Thursday.
All right, let's get into this by welcoming in our guys, Douzable and Emory Hunt, as mentioned, presented by Canva. Enjoy your work. And during that clip, by the way, Jordan went like this.
Drama. It's for the plot, right? It's for the plot.
Drama. Jordan was loving it. Look, these two guys have been two of the best in the business over the course of the last few years. Lige, I'll ask you, because you've been in the trenches here. Does Watt need to apologize for that, or do you think he just kind of lets it go?
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily needs to apologize. I do think it was a little bit off par for him. Now, again, I never fault anybody for acting in the moment, right? That was in the moment. The award came out. He didn't get it. So people are humans, right? They make emotional decisions, and he felt like he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. But, Jeremy, I'm going to go back to something that you said. You said he clearly outplayed him. That's not true. Myles Garrett was the most dominant player in the NFL last year. Case in point, Emory, you kind of vividly remember this. There was a time that Calvin Johnson, Megatron, would literally get vice covered on the outside. And when I say vice cover, 2 DBs would be on each side of him as if it was the punt return team, right? Myles Garrett got that same treatment at defensive end. I've never in my life seen a player on defense be on one side of the field and 2 tight ends be there. Then he motions to the other side and 2 tight ends follow him. That lets you know how dominant Myles Garrett is. And then you got to put this into perspective. Yes, you see it on the graphic right there. TJ Watt has been a little bit more productive than Myles Garrett since 2017. But you also got to put into the factor that he's also had Alex Highsmith. He's also had Cam Hayward inside as well. When you look at what Myles Garrett has, he hasn't really had that other running mate, right? He had Jadeveon Clowney for a little bit, Zadarius Smith. But none of those guys put up Alex Highsmith type numbers. And then when you also look at the tape, for some odd reason, teams refuse to double team TJ Watt. And maybe it is because they have Cam Hayward and Alex Highsmith. So Myles Garrett rightfully deserved that award last year. He was the most dominant defensive player in the league. And I'm not going to fault TJ Watt for tweeting what he tweeted. You're supposed to feel like you're the best defensive player in the league, especially when you put up the most sacks in the NFL. But don't get it twisted. Myles Garrett was the most dominant player last year, but I don't expect TJ Watt to apologize to him.
Absolutely not, man. Listen, I am a petty All-American. Like, you leave that to me to talk about. You have these guys, you tweet out what you say, and you stand on it. It's football. We all talk trash in sports in general. So I love that TJ Watt did this, because also he doesn't have to go against Myles Garrett because he plays on the same side of the ball. But to your point about Garrett versus Watt, Leger, I think what stands out for Watt and why a lot of folks felt like he deserved the award because when we watch these ball games and we watch these games in these critical moments, it always seems like TJ Watt is making that game-changing play. The sack when the team needs to stop on third down, the sack fumble when a team needs the ball back. He seems like he's always making those plays in a spotlight game when we are all watching. So the perception in some eyes is a reality, but you're right. Both guys are dominant, and we see how dominant Garrett is versus the run, how dominant he is when he's able to walk guys. He's changing positions. He could take a left tackle and turn him into a running back with how far he pushes him into the backfield to get to the QB. So both guys are dominant. It's really splitting hairs, but because Watt does it in these spotlight games that everybody watches at the same time, they tend to feel like he's outproducing Myles Garrett.
And that's all I was saying, Leger, is the numbers bear it out. That's it. I'm not saying that Garrett's not a great player, that he didn't deserve the award.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people get enamored with numbers, right? But you got to watch tape. Matter of fact, some of those clips we just saw, TJ Watt, again, this is no disrespect for him because he is one of the top players in the league. He was unblocked on a lot of those plays. Like, that never happens for Myles Garrett. And that lets you know how dominant Myles Garrett is. Again, this is not me taking a shot at TJ Watt. He's been rightfully deserving to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year in and year out. But when you go back to the tape, Jeremy, all I'm saying is, when you look at the rate of double teams, Myles Garrett sees way more double teams than TJ Watt.
No shots fired, only to Emory himself, because did I hear he said he was a petty American? Yeah. Did he call himself that? Emory, that was just epic. That was my takeaway. Okay, I want to get moving on here because Jeremy mentioned it. Mike Tomlin has his team on their way to yet another winning season. If they get a 9th win tonight on Thursday Night Football, he's proving that he knows his team better than anybody else. He made the switch from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson. And they haven't really missed a beat since then, Emory. How far can this Steelers team go with Russell Wilson, and are you confident in saying that Russell Wilson is back?
Well, first of all, I have racked up on so many over bets throughout the course of Mike Tomlin's career because people consistently think he's going to finish below 500. So keep on winning because I keep winning as well. But to your question, Jordan, listen, everyone focuses on the quarterback position, but what has been the reason why the Steelers have won the game is that neither QB, Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, have turned the ball over. So it's really about ball control, run game, and defense, which sounds like the Steelers since 1970, right? And that's why they've been winning these ball games. Because if you look at it, Russell Wilson has not played better than Justin Fields. In fact, inside the red zone is where Justin Fields has played significantly better than Russell Wilson, who has been significantly worse in the NFL in that regard. But when you add another weapon like Mike Williams and you add Russell Wilson's ability to get the ball out deeper down the field, it gives a perception of the offense looking a lot better. But really, the offense has been the same. The defense has played the same. Is the fact that both quarterbacks are not turning the ball over. So the Steelers are sitting here in the catbird seat because, hey, Denver is paying Russell Wilson. We're getting good quarterback play from him. And we can decide if we want to sign Justin Fields as our QB of the future because we've seen him now in Steeler moments in live game situations handle the role and handle his subsequent benching. Not really benching, but just going back to QB2 rather well. And so I just like the fact that they're handling this position how it's supposed to be handled.
Yeah, to your point, Emory, Mike Tomlin doesn't lose games. And I was one of those guys, and I have to apologize to him because he is one of the GOATs, right? I just thought with the way this roster was constructed, this would be the year that he finally wouldn't get a winning record. And like you said, they're in the captain's seat to win the AFC North. But getting back to the question in regards to how far can this team go with Russell Wilson, I want to hit on something specific that you talked about, Emory, the red zone. That's how you win and lose games, especially in the playoffs. So unless Russell Wilson fixes what he does in the red zone, because let's just go back to last week, right? 4 trips there, Emory, they settled for 3 field goals, and he threw an interception. That's not going to win you games in the playoffs. You have to be lights out better in the red zone, right? And that's why I think we could see Justin Fields more so in the red zone. They've actually used him in a couple wildcat packages. And this is a little foreshadow to my X Factor later on in our segment. But Russell Wilson has struggled in the red zone, and there's going to come a time and place where the Steelers defense isn't going to be as dominant as they've been throughout the year. There's going to be a time where Russell's going to have to score touchdowns in the red zone. Now, he did it a couple weeks ago versus the Commanders. Now, they did have some opportunistic things go their way, like a muff punt in the red zone by Zacchaeus from the Commanders, put them on like the 13-yard line. But Russell Wilson has to be better in the red zone. or this team won't get past the first round.
Okay, we mentioned the fact that the win tonight gives Tomlin 18 straight seasons, winning seasons. But for the Browns, a loss tonight means they'll have 22 losing seasons since 1999. LD, even a blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then. What is it with the Browns? Why can't they just get this right?
I mean, they found that lightning in the bottle last year, right? Jeremy, 5 different quarterbacks played, and they were able to still get into the playoffs because of that championship-type defense. And it's the age-old story. If you don't have a quarterback, it's hard to win in this league, and that's been the issue with the Cleveland Browns. They've really struggled to solidify the quarterback position. They went to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. They thought they could get a little better. Decided to go with Deshaun Watson. Really hasn't worked out. And that's been the issue for the Browns going back the last 2 decades. If you do not have a guy under center that can take care of the football, that can push the ball down the field, that cannot lose you games, right? Because they do have a really good defense. It's hard to win in this league, Emory. So that is the thing that has plagued the Cleveland Browns. It hasn't just plagued the Cleveland Browns. My New York Jets, same thing. It's plagued them. If you don't have the quarterback, it's hard to win.
Yeah, you can go back to when they restarted the Browns, the whole Kelly Holcomb, Tim Couch situation, how that got mishandled, and Holcomb actually was the better player, and so on and so forth. And so I also look at ownership, because in the NFL, it's not hard to turn a team around in one season. You could just scrape off the top in terms of selecting talent from the college football ranks. And so it really looks at the ownership like, hey, man, can y'all get out of the way and stay away from the football side of things and let the football people handle the football things, and things will subsequently turn themselves around. We don't know nothing about the Steelers except the Rooneys. You don't even know which Rooney we're talking about, right? That's because they stay hands off. But when you know the owner, you know that's a bad organization.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk X factors for tonight's game. Who or what are you watching for in this one, Emory?
The Steelers secondary, because one thing I know about Jameis, he don't care about nothing. If he sees a touchdown, he's going to throw the touchdown. It doesn't matter if you need 3 or just need to run the clock out. If he think he can get 6, he's going to push the ball, touchdown to check down. So the secondary has to make sure they keep their eyes on their luggage and don't get lax in coverage, because Jameis has the arm to reach it deep down the field. I think that's where the Browns will feel like they can attack the Steelers defense with the passing game, because now they have a guy that has the arm that can push it vertically down the field, that threatens that deep coverage.
Emory, I think you'll like my X factor. It's Justin Fields. I know a lot of people say, you picked a backup quarterback as the X factor? Well, that's why it's an X factor. We saw Taysom Hill carve up this Browns defense for 138 yards, had a 75-yard touchdown to close out that game. Well, Justin Fields, they've been using him kind of like a wildcat quarterback these last few weeks. Emory, we talked about how the Steelers have struggled in the red zone. Well, that's how you can help in the red zone. +1 in the red game. When you see how physical Justin Fields is running the football, you see him right here. Once he gets on that edge, he's so electric, and he's a bigger quarterback. He's not going down easily, so I think he can really help them. You saw him drop the shoulder right there versus the Colts. He can really help them with his mobility in the red zone. I think Justin Fields will be a big part of this offense, because Emory, it's going to be an ugly weather game. 40 degrees, going to feel like 20-something degrees, right? Rain is in the forecast. This is going to be a low-scoring game. Whoever can run the ball effectively will probably win this game. I think Justin Fields can give the Steelers an uptick in his running ability, specifically in the red zone.
That's why we see that game total sitting at 36.5. Steelers favored by 3.5. So, Lige, when you look at the numbers here in terms of the line, what are you thinking for a play tonight?
Yeah, these numbers have fluctuated, Jeremy. Earlier in the week, they were at 39.5, and I felt a lot more comfortable with that number. I just talked about the weather. You see it on the screen right there. It's going to feel like 22 degrees with wind gusts up to 20 miles an hour. I don't think these teams are going to be able to throw the ball, Emory, honestly. That's why I think Justin Fields could be really big for the Steelers running the football. Even though it's 36.5, Jeremy, I'm still taking the under. This is a divisional game. There's added beef with the Myles Garrett, right, TJ Watt thing. We just saw the Steelers play a divisional game versus the Ravens where this number didn't even get hit, right? The score was 18-16. That was good weather. So anytime it's an AFC North game, it's going to be a gritty game. Whoever runs the ball more effectively usually wins. Still taking the under 36.5. I think this score is going to be like 9-10 or 10-7.
Wow. Listen, I'm going to lay the points with Pittsburgh. I agree it's going to be a low-scoring game. Watching that Browns games last week against New Orleans, they could not stop power in any iteration. Running back power, QB power, they got beat like a drum. And I expect Pittsburgh to use what we saw last week versus New Orleans to help them run the ball against Cleveland. Cleveland cannot run the football. They haven't gotten that run game going yet, so this makes it easier to tee off on Jameis Winston. So I look for the Steelers to dominate on both sides of the ball.
All right, we'll be looking for it as well. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here live on CBS Sports HQ. Leger, Douzable, and Emory Hunt joining us here to break down the big AFC North battle between the Steelers and Browns tonight on Thursday Night Football. Keep it right here on CBS Sports HQ, though. We'll have all the news, NFL highlights, NFL scores. It's all here, and it's all free.